Welcome to the Running Library. Today we're breaking down The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Let's start with the strongest idea first. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey isn't a book of hacks. It's a framework for changing how you see yourself, how you relate to other people, and how you make decisions when life gets messy. Covey's core idea is simple. Lasting effectiveness comes from principles, not quick fixes. If you build your life around stable principles, like integrity, responsibility, fairness, and service, you stop needing constant motivation. You start acting from identity. He organizes the book into 7 habits, but they're really stages of growth. The first 3 habits are about moving from dependence to independence, what Covey calls a private victory. The next 3 habits move from independence to interdependence, how you work with people for a public victory. And the 7th habit is renewal, how you sustain everything long-term. Before the habits, Covey draws a line between personality ethic and character ethic. The personality ethic is the modern obsession with image and techniques. Say the right thing, use the right method, manage impressions. The character ethic is deeper. Your effectiveness is shaped by who you are, your values, your integrity, your discipline, your ability to keep commitments. With that foundation, Habit 1 begins. Habit 1. Be proactive. Being proactive doesn't mean being aggressive or busy. It means taking responsibility for your choices. Covey says there's a gap between stimulus and response. Something happens, an email, a comment, a delay, a disappointment, and then you respond. In that gap, you have freedom. You can react automatically, or you can choose. Reactive people outsource that choice. They blame circumstances, moods, other people, the economy, their childhood, anything that makes them feel less responsible. Proactive people focus on what Covey calls the circle of influence instead of the circle of concern. The circle of concern is everything you care about: politics, the past, other people's opinions, the weather, company decisions. The circle of influence is what you can actually affect: your preparation, your attitude, your words, your habits, your next action. When you invest energy in influence, it grows. When you spend energy complaining about concern, you shrink. A practical way to use Habit 1 is to watch your language. Reactive language sounds like, I can't, I have to, they won't let me. Proactive language sounds like, I choose, I will, what can I do? That shift isn't cosmetic, it's a declaration of ownership. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Habit 2 is about living from a clear sense of purpose. Covey asks you to imagine your own funeral, not for drama, for clarity. What would you want people to say about your character, your relationships, your contribution? The point is that every day you're building a life, either by design or by default. This habit pushes you to write a personal mission statement, a description of who you want to be and what you stand for. And it also introduces a key distinction: leadership versus management. Leadership decides what the right mountain is. Management is climbing efficiently. You can be highly productive and still end up somewhere you never meant to go. Beginning with the end in mind means you choose your values first, then align your goals, calendar, and commitments to match. Habit 3. Put first things first. Habit 3 is where purpose becomes action. Covey's time management idea isn't do more. It's do what matters. He uses a matrix with 2 axes, urgent and important. Quadrant 1. Urgent and important, crises, deadlines, emergencies. Quadrant 2. Not urgent but important. Planning, prevention, relationship building, learning, health, deep work. Quadrant 3. Urgent but not important. Other people's priorities, interruptions, many meetings. Quadrant 4. Not urgent and not important. Time wasters. Most people live in Quadrant 1 and 3, constantly reacting. Highly effective people protect Quadrant 2. They schedule the important before it becomes urgent. This is where your mission statement becomes real. You plan your week around priorities, not around pressure. It also requires courage, because saying yes to first things often means saying no to things that look urgent, or to people who want access to your time. The first 3 habits together build independence. You take responsibility, define your direction, and execute on what matters. Now Covey shifts to interdependence. Habit 4. Think win-win. Win-win is not being nice. It's a mindset of mutual benefit. Covey says there are a few basic relationship paradigms. Win-lose. If I win, you lose. Lose-win. I'll lose so you can win, often out of insecurity. Lose-lose. If I can't win, I'll make sure you don't either. Win. I only care that I win. And win-win. Let's find an outcome that works for both of us. Win-win requires both courage and consideration. Courage to advocate for your needs, consideration to respect the needs of others. If there's no possible win-win, Covey recommends win-win or no deal. That means you don't force agreements that breed resentment. This habit is built on what he calls an abundance mentality, the belief that there's enough opportunity, credit, and success to go around. Scarcity mentality treats life like a competition for limited slices. Win-win becomes especially powerful in work relationships, negotiations, and family decisions, anywhere resentment can quietly accumulate. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This is the communication habit. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reply. They're waiting for their turn, or they're filtering what you say through their own story. Covey calls the skill you need empathic listening. Not agreeing, not fixing, not diagnosing, understanding. A practical technique is to reflect back what you heard, both content and emotion. So what I'm hearing is, it sounds like you're frustrated because this does two things. First, it calms defensiveness. Second, it gives you accurate information. Only after you understand do you move to being understood, because now you can speak to what actually matters to the other person. Habit 5 is also a reminder that relationships are built on emotional trust, not just logic. Habit 6, synergize. Synergy is the payoff of habits 4 and 5. It means the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts. Not compromise where everyone loses something, but creative cooperation where a third, better option appears. Synergy depends on valuing differences. Different perspectives, backgrounds, skills, and temperaments aren't obstacles. They're assets if you can communicate well, but synergy doesn't happen when people are pretending. It happens when there's enough trust that people can disagree without fear. This habit is especially relevant in teams. The goal isn't to win the argument, the goal is to build the best solution. Now the final habit. Habit 7, sharpen the saw. This is the habit that protects all the others. Covey uses the metaphor of a saw. If you keep cutting without sharpening, you get dull and everything becomes harder. Sharpening the saw means renewing yourself in 4 dimensions. 1. Physical, sleep, nutrition, exercise, energy management. 2. Mental, learning, reading, writing, thinking. 3. Social, emotional, relationships, service, connection. 4. Spiritual, values, purpose, reflection, time in nature or faith. Whatever grounds you. The point isn't self-care as indulgence, it's maintenance. It's stewardship of your capacity. Without renewal, you eventually lose the very effectiveness you're chasing. So what's the big takeaway? The 7 habits are not a checklist. They're a progression. First, you build integrity and responsibility. Then you build direction and discipline. Then you build relationships based on mutual benefit and deep understanding. Then you maintain the system by renewing yourself. If you want a simple way to start applying Covey's framework this week, try this. 1. Identify one area where you've been reactive. Rewrite your language into a choice. I choose to, and name one action in your control. 2. Write a rough mission statement, just a paragraph. Who do you want to be? What do you want to stand for? What matters most? 3. Pick one quadrant to commitment and schedule it. Not someday, put it on the calendar. 4. In your next tense conversation, practice habit via. Reflect back what you heard until the other person says, yes, that's it. Then speak. You don't become effective by doing more things. You become effective by becoming the kind of person who consistently does the right things on purpose, especially when it's inconvenient. That's what Covey is really offering, a principle-centered life that works in the real world because it's built from the inside out. If you want the full book, it's linked below. Why pay for overpriced audiobook providers when you can listen here for free? Subscribe to @The Running Library for more full-length breakdowns.